snap. Oh, I just hit start streaming. Just like that.
It's like that.
Gotta find music though.
You just click a button and you're live to the world.
File does not exist.
Did it ever truly exist?
Alright, did it work? Holy. Yeah! I love it when stuff works.
My goodness.
Episode 15. I went to the a boba place. Man, I got myself pretty good.
Yeah, it looks that's
There's a little lump right there too.
oh,
I slipped. I was just like, "Wah!" I stood up. I was like, in disbelief, in full disbelief that I just smacked my head on.
You have that reaction that cartoon characters have, where you're like dazed for a second, and you like don't know where you are.
Just a bunch of
Yeah,
birds flying
little
around my
birds.
head. Pretty much, that's what it felt like. Oh, but I went to a boba place and look, they had a little Christmas Pikachu.
Wow, is that glass?
No,
No.
don't tell Evan I'm drinking out of plastic, dude. He'll kill me.
Oof, oof, oof. Much less possibly non-officially licensed Pokemon merchandise. I mean, it looked legit to me, but I
It's
you never
legit,
know.
dude. I swear to God.
Swear to goodness. Swear to goodness, it's officially licensed. You gotta get a Pokemon rep on the phone.
Please don't. Not today, dude. And then Amazon gives me this, of course. Just make sure that you're delivering smiles to the
Delivering
planet
smile.
Earth. They don't say to the people of your community. They say to the planet Earth. You deliver smiles to the planet Earth. They're thinking a lot bigger than my than I ever could.
All of planet Earth. Global brand.
They have it on lock. Oh, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready, except I don't know your topic, so I'm ready.
I love that you don't know. I'll start updating. That's funny. I'll start. I've known for a few days too. This is not like a new thing I discovered today.
I like it.
I've known for a while. Oh snap! It is time. It is time. Let's wind down this music right here real quick. Ooh. It is time. That time of the week again. This is the LFTG Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where we talk about multiple different esports topics. I talk about one specific esport apparently the whole time because all my other favorite esports are in the off season because apparently there's an off season right now for some. It's okay, we'll figure it out. But it works out because I can fill up all my time slots with plenty of juicy news anyway. But let's go ahead and get it started. Wait, I am your host, Refresh, and sitting next to me is the other lovely host of this show. Sometimes I make it sound like it's temporary, but it never is.
Hey, I'm Mohawkmike.
He's
I'm the other guy on the screen. I'm the one that brings you news outside of the world of Call of Duty, and happy to do so.
Hey, I've done it before, okay? When my other favorite esports gives me news, I will present the news. But, as we will find out later, Call of Duty might be the number one esport. Let's find out. Let's find out. First, we're going to start off. There was a roster announcement. The only tweet that has been officially made by Paris. And not only was it a very lackluster tweet, it was also a graphic made by the CDL. So the Paris Legion has announced a roster through the CDL, basically just copy-pasted the tweet and officially tweeted for the first time in like 3 months. I guarantee the CDL is like, hey, you need to tweet out your roster before the new year starts. So on December 31st, Scraps, Fire, Aqua, and Classic were announced as the final remaining roster for the CDL for Paris Legion, coached by Theory. We know that from the Challengers pickup league that they've done. This squad is pretty interesting. If you guys do not know Call of Duty very well, Scraps has a twin brother Wuskins, which is arguably one of the better ARs. Wuskins is not in the league right now, so it looks like a deal was not made to get both of those brothers on the same team. I know there was a little bit of talks behind the scenes of everything of them possibly not practicing as much, but I think it's because they weren't having as much fun with the game last year as they are this year. So super sad not to see Wuskins, but Scraps, it's kind of a unique peak here because Classic and Aqua kind of fit together, and then Fire was an AM coming from last year. He won the Challengers finals with Gunjar and company. So Fire was a logical pickup. Aqua and Classic, and then Scraps. I don't know. I feel like the squad was kind of just thrown together. I feel like this is a lot of pressure on a player like Fire to succeed. I mean, basically, every team has the young gun, someone that just runs out and slays. And Fire not really having the experience on the pro level yet. Obviously, now they have been scrimming a little bit, and their scrims look okay sometimes. My expectation for this team is at the most a top 6 team, but I expect them to hover around the bottom. It's just interesting the way they announced it. They literally just copied the CDL's graphic. No exciting announcement. They were just like, literally, I will quote the tweet, introducing our 2021 roster. Let the battle begin. And then
image.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep, just still image.
I'm curious if this leads any more to your conspiracy theory about them possibly selling their slot, selling their team.
I think they want to sell.
Yeah, it's interesting. This does seem like this is just the default bare minimum. Hey, the contract states we have to announce our roster. We have to announce the team is locked in before the season starts. What is the easiest, most, passive way that we can do this?
Yeah,
that's what this seems like.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, their squad could have potential. Scraps could go off. Classic, I think, is a phenomenal player. I think Classic will actually be the in-game leader on this team. And then, like I said, the Aqua is probably going to be your objective player. And then all of your weight, all of the pressure is on their new rookie Fire. And Fire played amazing last Challenger series, but we'll see. You can hold up in 4v4, new game, new squad. In other Call of Duty news.
Wait, real quick. Is this team going to be based actually in Paris, or are they going to be in Texas?
So they will be in Texas. They'll most likely be in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Paris team will be based in Texas.
You have,
like a lot of the other teams.
When they move to Texas, 98% of the league resides in Texas now.
Right.
Wild. It's an unofficial COD bubble. But we're going to go ahead and move on to a little bit other COD news right now. So there's a leak that just happened, and it's unofficial news, but CDL Intel, pretty reliable source, basically has come out and said Sledgehammer, most likely, obviously it's not official, most likely will be making the next Call of Duty title. So there's speculation up in the air. Is it going to be Advanced Warfare 2? Some people want to see like a World War 3 type game where it's still boots on the ground. Um, Fun fact: the last Sledgehammer game was World War II, and it was arguably, well, it was the least selling COD game, one of the least selling COD games of all time, but one of the best ranked plays of all time. So is this bad news for competitive? I don't think so. I think if Sledgehammer kind of gets their act together and creates a good multiplayer experience that the casuals and competitive scene find enjoyable, I think this is actually pretty good news. Um, these last 2 years, I think Cold War, multiplayer wise, is a lot better than Modern Warfare. A lot more balance already, a lot more weapon tuning. Um, but I still think that Modern Warfare as a game, especially with Warzone, influenced how Cold War has worked, whether it be the class system, a little bit of your movement, just how certain things feel and how certain things flow, which is fine. Like I said, I do think Cold War is a more stable game. The one thing that they are missing though is something like a ranked play or something like competitive support. But they're hinting at that they're making something, and we've already know there's communication with the developers to improve the situation of possibly not having ranked or having ranked and having weapon tuning, which is a hell of a lot better than what happened last year. Which the only update for weapon tuning was because of Warzone, and it just so happened to transfer into multiplayer. So I don't think this is bad news. Some people see this as like, oh, they made the last really bad Call of Duty game, but I don't think it's a shot in the arm like everybody thinks it is.
No, and they have a previous track record. I think it's interesting that Activision is basically putting the future of CDL on Sledgehammer. Who knows how this game is going to develop? I mean, we had talked about before using the game multiple years in a row rather than cycling out for the league
Yeah,
using whatever the newest game is. Maybe they're in development of something that's different. Maybe it's not technically the next game in the franchise, or it could be a separate project. Who knows what that looks like? But again, if this is the next game, the next iteration, how is this going to affect the CDL, especially with a developer that was trusted last time?
yeah. So real quick fact before we get into the next topic. This year was supposed to be Sledgehammer's development year. So Sledgehammer was supposed to be current had developed the current game that's out. But I think it was less risky letting Treyarch take Cold War and pushing Cold War forward. So Cold War wasn't even supposed to be a thing until next year. This was supposed to be Sledgehammer's year. So this is actually a delayed game. So they have an elongated development cycle, which is the complete opposite of what we're used to from development teams. They're like, "Hey, you get another year." They're like, "Oh, thank goodness, thank you so much." So again, this could be really good news, and I mean, there's some speculation that jetpacks might be involved because some people say that Advanced Warfare 2 is in the realm of a possibility for a title. I don't see that happening. I think everything's going to be boots on the ground. I think the class system is going to stay similar to Modern Warfare and Cold War. It's just because of Warzone. I think Warzone is going to be the overall entity that Call of Duty focuses on. And then as far as competitive, multiplayer is going to have to fit into that somehow. And it's just maybe this is the game that does it better. But enough about Call of Duty for now. Let's talk about another game, another esport.
Well, the way things are shaping up right now, Fortnite, Epic Games announced last week, or actually a few weeks ago, this is a topic that I originally wanted to include, but then other news came out. But it was announced that Epic Games is still planning on supporting Fortnite as a competitive esports title. But as far as 2021 is looking, there is going to be no live in-person events, which is pretty obvious right now with, the pandemic going on. But that means also there will not be a World Cup. So one of the largest events, one of the biggest prize pots, one of the biggest news stories from last year, canceled already before we even get into the swing of this competitive season. Epic Games also said that they want to focus more this year on trios rather than duos or singles or squads, and they might have some other fun competitive formats they're going to experiment with. But is is already kind of setting a precedence where you have this organization that's blatantly saying we have no intention of running any online events, or sorry, any live in-person events. Everything that we will be doing will be online, and there will
And
be
no World
no
Cup.
official World Cup, which is their technically their world championship. So what does this mean for the future of Fortnite? Because people are already revolting even before this announcement. But more importantly, does this set precedents for other organizations to be like, you know what, our world championships we're going to postpone or maybe not do it this year, or are they going to go forward like Capcom Cup we talked about? They are doing a live in-person finals
Hmm.
for the end of this season, but it's going to be a closed person event. Public will not be there.
Right.
Very limited invitations sent out. Fortnite technically could have done the same thing, but you're talking about over 100 people
Yeah, the amount of
all
people
trying
would
to
be
get on and
ridiculous.
play at the same time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's interesting to see that they're already announcing no World Cup for 2021, but who knows? Do you think there is a possibility that they could take that back if everything clears up within the next 6-7 months?
I think the issue is with the online realm right now, and is what we found out with other esports is there's a big possibility of cheating online. I feel like that
Yeah.
they don't want to put $200 million into a prize pot again, and them even risking that being a factor. Um, as far as reformatting their competitive structure, I personally believe for online tournaments it should be twos. I think this goes for any battle royale, and it should be twos, and it's a kill race. The online competitive just because you can get into different lobbies, or if you're all part of the same lobby, I think the best viewing experience is when two teams of two play on the same squad, load up into squads, and they do a kill race, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what who determines the winner. I think watching an elongated game of Fortnite or PUBG is not that fun to watch. I think this is why Warzone's tournaments have had a lot of success recently. It's because they're really focused on the kill race model. So I don't. I mean, this sucks for Fortnite for them possibly not having a Worlds this year, but I don't think it's the end of the world, especially if they're considering reformatting their tournament structure. Maybe some light is at the end of the tunnel. We'll see, right?
Exactly. Who knows? Like we said, the announcement right now as it sits is there is no World Cup for 2021. There will be online events. We could see maybe third quarter. Maybe they'll change their mind depending on how
Yeah,
everything looks.
yeah. That's some crazy news. Speaking of news, we have
All the news.
all of the news.
So a few weeks ago, the esports world was devastated to find out that ESPN Esports had let go of all of their current employees after many years of service. There were many of the members that were talking about, hey, there's something that I'm being working on, something that I can't officially announce yet, something that's in the works. Well, we've got a little bit of news already as several members of the former ESPN esports team has been picked up by DOT Esports. More specifically, Jacob Wolf, who was previously with DOT Esports before
Hmm.
joining the ESPN squad and basically launching that organization there. So it's very exciting to see that DOT Esports has not only reached out to these people who were let go by ESPN. You would think the biggest entity, that's the ceiling as high as you could go, and they started acquiring these talents. So far, to my knowledge, of the ones that I've seen so far, we've got Jacob Wolf, and we also have Tish, who is doing a lot of the video editing and producing over at ESPN Esports. So one of the two biggest members already acquired, switching over to DOT Esports, while a couple of other free agents, so to say, within the esports news media sphere, we'll have to see where they land. Maybe they're going to go somewhere else. Maybe DOT has some other stuff that they're working on. But I thought this was exciting news because there's a very small gap. It was announced at the end of the year that ESPN Esports was shutting down, and then we didn't really go a long lapse without these representatives actually having a new home. So now that they've been picked up, they're acquired. We'll just have to see how things roll out. But there should be a lot more content, not having that lingering media company hovering over your head so much.
Hmm.
Obviously ESPN is part of ABC, part of Disney, part of that whole conglomerate. I'm sure there was a lot of handcuffing and a lot of things that stories that they wanted to break or wanted to cover that got scrapped because they didn't want their reputation being hurt at all. So the gloves are off. everybody's floating around, and we'll have to see how this all develops.
I mean, I think this just really shows the value of the news and like how it's projected out into the world and how valuable an asset like Jacob Wolf or Tish are. I mean, like I said, it was just a couple of weeks before they found a new home, and I think this is going to be a new home where, like you said, with no restraints. I think you're going to see a lot more. I don't want to say honesty because I don't want to say they weren't before, but you're going to see a lot more transparency as far as like how communities work and how good and bad things happen in this world. So I'm super excited to see what they bring to the table. Do you have any final words on any of the topics that we covered in the quick scope today?
Not at the moment. I mean, we could talk about any of those topics forever, but I'm ready to jump into the next batch because I don't know what's coming. That's the thing. I don't know what your next two topics are in the reload.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hop into. We're talking about some more GAs, baby, and we're not just. Here's the reason why I didn't put it in the quick scope because I'm about to read you the list of gentleman agreements in CDL version 2.1.0. Okay, this is where we've gotten to. Weapons. We're gonna start off with weapons. TAC rifles. All TAC rifles banned. They have now banned the AK-47. Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
What? AK-47's banned?
Just banned. No, you can't use it. Submachine gun, the Burst KSP-45, useless at medium range, banned. Gone. Get it out of here. 2 pistols have now been banned. The 1911 and the Magnum, you can't use in competitive. Snipers. No snipers in hardpoint and control. That's where they're the most useless. Only 1 sniper rifle allowed in search and destroy. We're going to move on to attachments. Optic, no thermal sights. Barrel, no task force barrel. So this hasn't been proven, but there's a theory that it increases headshot damage. So they ban task force barrel. All body attachments, lasers, flashlight, restricted. Muzzles, the KGB Eliminator and the SOCOM Eliminator, which mostly controls vertical recoil, eliminated. We're going to now move on to perks and wild cards. Wild card, perk greed. Lawbreaker is only allowed without overkill, which I'm fine. And then gunfight is allowed. So that's actually okay. Perk, gearhead, so it makes it so your equipment doesn't reload over time. And now we're going to move on to equipment. Lethals. Molotov is banned. Tactical, no. Okay, here's more specifics. No smoke grenades in hardpoint and control. Teams are limited to 2 smoke grenades in search and destroy. Field upgrades that are banned. No radar jammer. Teams limited to 3 trophy systems in all game modes. Score streaks. Teams are artillery at 1600 and cruise missile at 2000, which is fine. I think that's perfectly fine. Streaks are now back in competitive, which is what we want. There's a map has been officially GA'd. Cartel on hardpoint. You can it's GA'd. An auto sprint must be disabled, which that's a big mistake because auto sprint is a controller saver. It saves controllers. It saves people's hands. We're not done. North American amateurs only. Teams only limited to 1 smoke grenade in search and destroy. All barrels that increase damage are restricted. That doesn't include barrels that affect damage range. And European amateurs only. Score streaks. So we're just in this never-ending. Okay, here's my point I'm trying to make. That took me 3 minutes and 30 seconds to explain. For a new viewer, if I were to bring someone over, if I were to introduce someone to Call of Duty, and I were to say, "Hey," they were to ask me, "Hey, why can't they use this? Why is there no laser on their gun?" It shouldn't take me less more than 30 seconds to explain what's banned and what's not banned. For me to have to read a list of gentlemen's agreements, things are not officially part of the rules, and there's a risk of you not obeying those gentlemen's agreements and then getting blacklisted from scrims, it's just gone way too far. Way too far. There, just the specifics of you can't have sniper rifles on hardpoint or control is ridiculous to me. I think that's like I said, that's where the sniper rifle is the most useless. You're limiting yourself to quick scoping or being at a certain range, which doesn't allow you to play the objective. I think right now we're just in this trend where pros are just really just trying to dig way too deep, not actually discovering what is meta and what is not meta. Just the SMG that got banned, it's a burst SMG. It's deadly up close, but I'm not I'm not going to lie, it's pretty garbage in medium and long range. It's not good. So I think these GAs have gone way too far, and if I was running a competitive game right now, or if I had a team that was solid and competitive, I would just say, we're not abiding by, I do not agree. We do not agree. We are just going to play. And if you guys want to blacklist, that's fine. We'll just use better guns, right? Like, if you guys think they're better, and if we win, like, it's going to, I don't know. I would like to see some teams step up and just use this stuff and just go from there. And these aren't even the official competitive rules. We won't know that until midway through this month, probably. It's just, did that confuse you? Are you confused?
I'm confused more so because, okay, I can understand gentlemen's agreements as far as we're not playing this map. Like, as far as picks and bans we're not going to play this map. Hey, let's not use this one gun, this one per, whatever it may be. But the fact that there are different rules for different regions, that's the most baffling to me. For NA amateurs and for EU amateurs, that makes absolutely no sense. All the other stuff, I'm sure there's some kind of, mentality breakdown. Like, they could explain, like, okay, this is why one sniper for search and destroy. This is why this works. This is why blah, 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 XYZ. But at the same time, too, it
gets rid of the excitement. You're limiting strategy. You're making the game less interesting. You've now turned the game of chess into checkers. That's literally all you've done.
I think that's a good analogy. And the only thing that I could really think of that's beneficial for the players in this scenario, like you were saying, this is all gentlemen's agreements. They're all agreeing to play with these settings. They're not official. And maybe what they're trying to do is, we talked about earlier about the CDL having a potential unionization where players are like, hey, we want these demands. We want these to happen. We want these things. If they dumb the game down to a certain point and they just are on stage and playing in that fashion, maybe they're trying to get the publisher to listen. Maybe they're trying to get Activision to be like, hey, listen, your game, we're going to make it look 3 times slower than what it normally is, and it's going to hurt viewership. It's going to hurt everything, but this is how we're going to play unless if we get these demands.
Yeah,
that's the only upswing from this that I can think.
I think this is a big mistake. I think you're limiting. I think they're going to limit the exposure of new people watching their esport, which we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is apparently the number 1 esport in the world right now. And I say that because we have a top 10 esports teams and players earning by total prize pools of 2020. The number 1 organization it's not Team Envy as a spectrum, but it is the Dallas Empire specifically. Number 1 is 1.8 million. Right after that, you have Shock, which is 1.56. Team Liquid 1.46, Virtus Pro 1.37, Space Station, G2, Atlanta FaZe, not FaZe Clan, Atlanta FaZe, Team Solo Mid, Team Secret, and Fnatic. There are 3 team-specific, not team-specific to one esport on this list. 2 of them are Call of Duty, and 1 of them are Overwatch League. And the Overwatch League one is the one that happened to win the big championship.
Yep. So
I thought that was a really interesting stat line. And then we have the top 10 esports players by total prize pool of 2020. We have Magnus at number 1. If you don't know who Magnus is a chess player. We have Clayster at number 2. Crimsix is number 3. Illy at number 4. Shotzi at number 5. And Hook at number 6. We have Fedor from Team Thunder. Doesn't even say the esport. And then Hikaru from chess. And then 9 is Celium. And 10 is Simp. So over half of your top 10 esports individual earnings this last year are all people from the professional Call of Duty scene. And the number 1 esport organization of top earnings of last year is not Envy as a whole, but is Dallas Empire in Call of Duty. I was blown away. If I had $25 million to invest in any esport, I'm shooting for Call of Duty at this point. If I had to go for one, it's wild. It's wild to see that number. I did not think that I would see that number the first year of the CDL. It's only 1 year of CDL, and it's technically the most earned, and it showed that it can thrive in a crazy situation like 2020. Maybe if Dota was in its normal state, League of Legends and Counter-Strike was in its normal state, maybe it would be a little bit different, but for it to be able to thrive right now, I think that's a really big deal, and I think it can just grow even bigger when we hopefully, maybe, someday go back to normal. What do you think of this? Yeah. I know this might I could see this making you a little upset.
I don't know that it makes me so much upset, but it makes me skeptical. I would use the word skeptical, not upset. Because even though this is the first year and the first showing for the CDL, there are so many other esports and so many other tournaments that didn't technically happen in its full capacity. I would imagine Dota 2 and Counter-Strike have been the number 2 top earning games. Even Fortnite last year for the World Cup.
Yeah, Fortnite last year.
Booga, yeah, $1.3 million on his own as a singles competitor.
That's after taxes.
Was it 3?
That was after taxes.
Yeah.
That's after California.
Just don't pay your taxes, kids. Yeah. You'll be fine. But no, I think it's a great showing for the CDL, and I think this definitely boosts them up as far as like being more newsworthy. Like the organization itself, the community, the everything that they've done to set up that league has shown really well. I think part of the other consideration you have to take in is that while that is just the earnings for the teams and players themselves, the CDL and Activision in totality went to YouTube for all of their broadcasts. I think that hurt viewership. I think, look at it, he's shaking his head now.
Nope.
Tell me I'm wrong.
They're champs, Call of Duty champs last year for CDL on YouTube was their highest viewed event of all time.
I'm going to take your word for it.
That's fact. That's fact. That's a fact.
They
were crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that Activision got the money for that spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Twitch was just like, yeah, okay, go over to YouTube, see what happens. Mm-hmm. And then they thrive on YouTube. I think overall, I think the CDL, and I think Overwatch League. You have Shock on here. Overwatch League is on there as well. I think it shows 2 things. Certain esports can thrive online, and chess. Mm-hmm. Throw chess in there. Certain esports and chess can thrive online, and it can be viable online. But it also shows that even if you were to dig a little deeper, even viewership-wise, there's not one true platform anymore for esports viewership. I feel like Twitch may have made a little bit of a mistake by maybe just handing Overwatch League and CDL, especially if those two start to grow. Overwatch League has struggled this last year, but I think now with the crossover with the team of the CDL and Overwatch League, maybe the Overwatch League has a little bit more structure and maybe a little bit more room to grow. Hopefully more presentable to fans. We'll see over this next year. I just thought this was an interesting take because Call of Duty, especially as a console esport, like it was last year it was on the PlayStation, broke into the upper echelon of esports, and I feel like it's kind of gone under the radar until now. I feel like now is the first time that's really had the spotlight of like, oh wait, there is money to be made in this esport. It's not just here you go. And if Dallas was the only team on there, the fact that Atlanta is on there as well, the team that didn't even win, I think that shows a lot too, because it's not just the team that's number one. You also have the team that didn't that didn't win on there, and I'd be curious to see how far behind the other teams were that placed third, fourth. And the other big note before we end it is you got to look at it is they only counted it as Dallas Empire and not as Envy as a whole. So
Right.
I think that was the other interesting note is that if they I wonder what it would have that number probably would have been higher obviously if Envy was involved as a whole. So I think they kind of just left the other pieces out just to make sure that I think it kind of just like proved a point like hey, this is serious. It's where this is by itself its own organization and successful. So let's get into some probably non-North American esports.
Well, you were just talking about esports earnings. I'm going to talk a little bit about some esport investments. We had an announcement that there's a new esports facility and complex being built in Shanghai. It's more than just esports, though. It is the parent company that owns Edward Gaming has actually announced that they're opening, they actually broke ground for a new facility that will host an esports stadium that will have seating for up to 6,000 attendees, as well as theme park attractions, as well as breakdance competitions, as well as concerts and all sorts of attractions to the tune of $1.5 billion. Billion with a B. The chump change?
No, not this time. The B. No? The B is very important for this. That is ridiculous.
Right, and this is going to be in Shanghai. So everybody's always talked about, China. Once China gets involved with anything and that money starts moving around, a lot of things happen. A lot of new players come into the scene, and it could completely flip the industry on top of its head. We're seeing more and more with specifically mobile gaming. We're seeing with the inclusion of some other bigger games. China in particular has had a few major teams and major players that have kind of broken to the upper echelon of esports, but
it's not the Dragons. We don't talk about the Dragons.
Yeah. Well, that 0-40 season, right? Yeah. That 0-40 season to kick things off. But this is a huge undertaking. I really feel like this is going to be like a new destination as far as events, as far as anybody within that local area close to Shanghai that are looking to compete and kind of further themselves in becoming a professional esports competitor. And the fact that they're breaking ground on this in the middle of COVID with basically this is an Olympic style setup. This is prime and ready for an Olympic style event. We're talking, all dedicated for esports, and there are it's other media generation and kind of cultural arts and things like that. It's more than just esports, but esports is kind of the focus because of the investors and the teams that are involved. So, is this going to shape the future of what Shanghai esports looks like? I really think so.
Do you think? This is kind of just a theory that I have. Do you think that smaller esports can use that venue as a highlight? Hey, we're here, and maybe break themselves into a market that they didn't really have before. Let's just say Call of Duty, for example, or Halo. Let's say Halo. Halo comes out next year. It's gonna be free to play multiplayer. It's gonna be on PC. It comes out this year. Free to come this year. It's New Year. Woo.
Hopefully it comes out this year,
bro. If it doesn't, I know who to. I'm gonna yell at someone. But let's say an esport like Halo. I think this is a fantastic opportunity to break into a market, because I think a facility like this could easily pull in local numbers and just make a really cool event weekend out of an esport. I think this is a good opportunity for maybe not the biggest esports to get in a venue like this to break into a world market that they may not have necessarily had before that could be interested in their esport in the future. I don't think this is going to be just useful for the top esport, but I think this could be useful for any esport at any level.
Absolutely. I mean, the facility, from everything that I'm seeing, looks like it's going to have multifunctionality. So even though they announced like, hey, it's going to fit 6,000 viewers and spectators for any event that we do, there could have smaller portions. They could have breakoffs, but like you're saying as well, there are probably major esports players within China, within the Eastern globe that I personally like I'm unaware of. Like there could be huge breakout like with even just like mobile gaming. There could be a huge. I know like Vainglory was immensely popular. It was basically the mobile version of League of Legends, immensely popular over in China. There could be so many other games that just like basically skyrocket in popularity and viewership just by being in a facility like this.
Yep, I agree with you. I think this is a fantastic opportunity for some of those esports. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I hope we get a chance to work one of those events at some point. I could see maybe a DreamHack Shanghai. If it has,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I easily. Maybe we've predicted the future. What if in a week it happens? We're gonna start writing it. We're gonna start writing everything down, and we're gonna start keeping a tally of what we get right.
there you go.
But speaking of predictions, this is a topic.
Yes, you always come up with conversation pieces, kind of theory crafting. And so I wanted to present to you, off of everything that we saw last year, what are some of your predictions for the year 2021 as far as esports and what we may see? I have a few ideas that I'd like to pitch to you, but I want to get your general thoughts first, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth and see if you hit any of the same bullet points that I'm thinking of.
Predictions. Okay, you ready? I say we have our first, I don't care what game it is, our first big LAN again. And I think it will be in Florida. And I think it's going to be hosted. And even if during current circumstances continue, I think we'll still get our first major LAN event, open LAN event.
What makes you say Florida? I'm interested to hear about this.
Dude, what? What do you mean what makes me say Florida? Have you Florida? Okay, there's like certain places that don't act like okay, there's places that initially locked down and then stopped caring, and then Florida just was unaware of what was happening the whole time.
I think it's interesting that you say this because I actually just saw on Twitter, I believe it was either earlier today or yesterday, someone complaining because their Smash locals are still running. They're back up and running. They're having Smash weeklies in Florida.
In Florida? Okay, yeah. I say.
Yeah.
Okay, my first prediction is I say we see our first major LAN event back, and it's in Florida, and it's regardless of the situation that's going on. And then my second prediction is Halo will come out this year, and we'll get a pro circuit, no franchise league, and the developers are going to slap the wrist on these COD players and say no GAs.
Ooh.
That's my third prediction.
I would hope so. Any other predictions? You got 3 so far. I'll tell you what. I will jump in.
Yeah, jump in.
And I'll lend you some of the bullet points that I've been thinking of more over so, and see what your thoughts are. I think one of the biggest ones is that we're going to see the continuation of online events, specifically online leagues and major events, are still going to remain online, as we saw with the cancellation of the Fortnite World Cup 2021. We're seeing tons of events. Like, we're still living in an online world, and that's where it's going to live at least for the majority of the year. I don't really foresee a open LAN event happening anytime soon. I could see more of a bubble situation like we talked about before.
Yeah.
I think the second biggest one that I think and I'm literally not just saying this to push your buttons, but I really feel like after the year that was 2020, I think that mobile gaming is going to have a lot bigger presence. I think that it's going to be more in the news than it has been before, only because of the games that are currently setting themselves up with their current leagues. We know that PUBG Mobile is putting huge money into it. We've seen Clash Royale announce like another league. I really, really, really feel that their mobile gaming is on the cusp of being more prominent within the ecosphere of the entire esports industry.
I could actually agree with that. I think we are on the line. I think it's going to depend on how the game views as a spectator,
Mm-hmm.
as a spectating mode, how the game views, and how they market it and who they market it to. I think I think they could make a big mistake of trying to target market the current esports demographic. I think they need to target market their own audience, and that's something that I feel like even some mobile games in the past have skipped out on. They have a very specific target market. Is a lot of people play mobile games, but how many of those people are competitive? And I think they need to figure that
Yeah.
out within a certain window, and they need to determine if it's more than they thought or less than they thought, and then really market to those people. But I do agree with you. I do think mobile games could make a big impact this year. Um, I see. Oh, I don't want to say this. I see Parasite making on a starting roster in the CDL this year.
Oh,
That's
really?
that's my fat take. That's my hot take. I see him squeaking his way on, and it's gonna be loud. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a very loud experience. It's gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna be a squeaky door. But
Yeah.
I predict overall good things. I feel like hopefully this year I do feel like we will see a game or two do a bubble. I do expect to see CDL champs on LAN. Just because of the situation they've kind of already put themselves in unknowingly. Um, I see Counter Strike making a little bit of a comeback.
Really?
Yeah,
Even with Valorant trying to go as strong as they are?
yeah, I see CS:GO. I see people playing Valorant, and I think some people are gonna miss CS:GO. Some people might crawl back. I feel like I've already kind of seen it in a way. I feel like I've seen more CS:GO content
Very true. Like,
recently.
yeah.
But yeah, those are all my predict. I predict
Well,
overall.
and with
Hopefully,
that
it's a
being
good year.
Yeah, I would as well. I think the only other thing that I could see maybe being pushed more is more collegiate and high school, specifically with online events. Because if the kids are at home anyway, if they're doing online schooling,
Yeah,
might as well get them on to play some games and have more of
create
a
a social
structured
environment.
league.
I
Exactly.
think high school, man. High school's the key. Getting the districts on board with high school, whether it's I think Rocket League would be the perfect
Oh
game for
yeah,
it. Would be the perfect game
absolutely.
for it. I don't think Madden. I don't think any of those games. Maybe 2K would do well, but I think Rocket League would be the game actually. Would be the game. All right. Well, we actually for the first time in a while we have two different events that we want to talk about.
Oh,
We're gonna go ahead and start with yours. Yours first.
well, we have the official announcement happened yesterday on social media. The yearly fighting game event that happens early in the year in Chicago, Illinois. Frosty Fostings is going online this year. Frosty Fostings is hands down one of my favorite events every single year. I usually refer to it as my reset event. The reason that it is because it's the first event usually to happen, first kind of major event to
Yep.
happen in the new year. Not just that, but I personal friends with the people who run it or organize it, so I always show up and love it. It's part of my yearly tradition. But this year is going online. What's crazy is last year, Frosties was one of the last events that in-person events that I actually personally worked before everything got shut down. So to see them, we're a year removed
Right.
from last year, everything being normal, no news of COVID, everything was fine. To now, they are forced to be doing an online event. But I think it's a great showing of them to be able to put this online and organize it. It'll be taking place January 29th and through the 31st, I should say, featuring a whole bunch of different fighting games. There's a little bit of backlash from the community. A lot of the games that are known for having really good rollback, like Skullgirls and Killer Instinct, are not being featured. But it's one of those things that they wanted to hyper focus on the events that they are going to run.
Yeah, because there's less games, right? It's less games overall.
Oh, absolutely, dude! Frosty Frosty.
It's like
it's a time vortex. It's a 2-day event. It's Friday and Saturday, and there's I think it's like last year, I think was 30.
It's like 30.
It's like 10 official games, and then over like 37 tournaments total, and that's not the ones that are being ran in the BYOC as well. It's insane.
I do see one game on that lineup that I may have to get involved in.
Interesting.
And I think you know what game it is.
Oh, I absolutely think you know what it is. I'm gonna let you know. I'm full transparency. Full transparency. I am very biased with picking my event this week. This was huge news getting announced, but I am helping with the organization of the Windjammers portion of Frosty Frostings Online. So I encourage everybody to sign up. You can sign ups are open right now over on Smash GG. You can sign up and get online to compete. A lot of those games are going to be an absolute blast to watch, but if you also have the time and I don't even want to say skill, you don't even need to be good at the games to get online and play. But
I'm going to win that Windjammers tournament.
You're going to win the Windjammer. You know what the good thing is? As far as the rules, as they currently sit right now, it is only open to North American competitors. So
Perfect.
That means France.
Get out of here!
France, the number one region of the world. Block for Frosty Frostings Online.
Oh, I'm taking it, dude. My Biaggi, dude. He's coming in hot. The Italian Stallion. The Italian Stallion.
It should be the Italian Stallion.
That's my dude. Basic. Basic.
He's my dude too. He's straight dead in the center as far as
right
power
in the middle
and speed. Dead in the center. That's why I like him. His super's also good too.
Yeah, especially with bumpers. So good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Clay Biaggi is the best. Hands down the best.
Clay Biaggi is the GOAT. I have an event that I don't have a picture for because the banner's being made tonight. But we're doing it. We're officially hosting tournaments again. The first tournament of the year is going to be on the 17th. It is a Call of Duty 2v2 event. We're going to go ahead and host all of our events from here on out on smash.gg. So if you guys haven't yet, go to lftg.com/events, join the Call of Duty Discord, and we'll be posting the registry link there and following on Twitter once we get our banner. Our banner should be up tomorrow. We also have some important news, not just the tournament, but I guess I'll tell the podcast right now. But if you guys go to lftgofficial.com, you guys scroll down. You guys might want to check out the store because there's some new stuff in there. I got a piece of it right here. This is the crew neck. Ooh, it is nice. It's actually nice. I'm so proud of it. I love it. It's so comfy too. I'm saving it because I gotta grind this weekend. I'm gonna wear it then and keep myself all nice and warm. But yes, so go to lftg.com/events. I will be posting the banner there and on Twitter this week. Remember, it's the 17th. Starts at noon. $180 pays out top 2 single elimination bracket, and it should be a pretty quick event. Usually lasts about 4 or 5 hours, and it'll be streamed on this channel right here. I'm hyped. I'm hyped to be hosting tournaments again.
The only question is what gentlemen agreements are applied to
all of them. Every single one. Only knives, and you can't run. You have to walk everywhere, and no crouching, no jumping. You have to just walk and punch. Fucking idiots, dude. I cannot believe how long that list is.
Disabled.
Stick
disabled, left trigger only.
Dude, version 2.1.0. When I saw that and I read it, I was like, And then I saw the AK was on there, which I don't even think is the best assault rifle in the game. It's not the most consistent. It can kill. It can kill you fast. You will blink and you will die. It's just, it blows my mind, dude. I'm actually heated. I'm upset.
The current state of things that we live in. That's the current state of affairs. Is the fact that we have.
I don't know what I would rather deal with. I don't know if I would be rather be quarantined or deal with all these GAs. I can't keep track of all of them. I would do 2020 all over again, not to have, just to not have these GAs. I would just
bold statement.
Take it back, dude. Just leave on auto sprint, man. I don't have to buy a new controller every 2 months. Anybody that plays more than an hour a day that doesn't have auto sprint on, it's just not worth it, man. It's not worth it. That's really it, man. Do you have anything you want to recap on? Anything you want to touch, sprinkle onto this?
Just that it's, the start of a new year and things are already crazy. I guess I do want to give a very personal shout out to my girlfriend, Elizabeth. I actually just relocated this past week from Cincinnati, Ohio to Albuquerque, New Mexico. When I got here, she surprised me with a new office, which is, there's no weird cabinets. There's no refrigerators behind me now, as you guys can see. She, put together an office space for me. I'm very, very excited to be working and operating out of here and actually have a legitimate, instead of, my parents' kitchen table, I have a legitimate space to grow and do things on. So big thank you to her and everybody that basically assisted with the move and just big things going forward for 2021.
For sure. I just had to stop. Why don't we host Windjammers tournaments this year?
We could. We very well could.
We should. Not we could. We should.
We should.
We'll talk about that.
I saw a tweet earlier today that there's a representative of the fighting game community that he actually has a ton of arcades. He helps supply arcade games to fighting game events and conventions and things like that. And he's like, all right, boys, the year is 2021. You know what that means? We're living officially in the Adult Swim cartoon C-Lab 2021. He's like, I want to start hosting.
So funny.
He's like, I want to start hosting a series of online arcade-focused tournaments that are all water-themed. Whatever you think of, let me know. And I tweeted at him. I was like, Windjammers, beach only. Only the beach stage. He's like, are you serious? You think I wasn't going to run Windjammers? So
that's dope. I'm excited. All right, well, let's go ahead and end it here. I want to say, okay, you know what time of night it is. Not time of night. Roll.
It's going to be nap time.
It's going to be nap time. And by nap time, I mean it's that time of night where we just gotta bring up the music, slow down just a little bit, think about just how we got here. I mean, I got off of work, I clocked out, and I got in my little Miata and drove all the way here, and then next thing you know, I ended up at this L-shaped desk, sitting in this chair with no armrests, because I don't like them. They hurt my elbows, and they make me sit weird. I want to sit up straight when I play, and just reflecting back on 2020, and picked out some of the good moments, and one of those good moments is starting this show for you beautiful people, and mostly for myself and Mike, so we can just sit here and talk about a little bit of nonsense. I can rant about Call of Duty while Mike pretends he cares and talks about real esports that don't GA everything under the sun. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for ending 2020 on a high note and starting off 2021 on an even better one. I am Refresh, and sitting next to me is...
This is Mohawkmike, wishing everybody a continued happy and safe new year. If you have any suggestions for gentlemen agreements that we should apply to the show, let us know, like certain words we shouldn't use or games we shouldn't cover. Sure
Refresh with no hat. Refresh with no hat and Mike with no glasses. It's game over. The whole show is shot. All right, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for watching.